Friendo.
Deputy Speaker, I move the motion relating to offshore processing of asylum seekers in the terms in which it appears on the notice paper.
The member Friendo.
Deputy Speaker, I was in grade 5 when I first understood the links between values and behaviours. My ethics teacher explained that in life it's easy for people to endorse values, things, attributes, characteristics, but it's behaviours that give the evidence to these values. She asked us to imagine, at the end of our lives, our values, one or two important ones, and the behaviours that we'd enacted to show that we had lived by those values. And then she asked the question, would there be enough evidence to convict us? Now, her specific example was Christianity. The judge was God, and the evidence, how we had lived our lives. And in the 4 years I've worked in this parliament, there has been lots of discussion, debate about values, Australian values, community values. And I believe that's exactly how it should be. It's the role of a member of parliament to debate values, cultural norms, behaviours expected, and to enact laws to enforce them. And in this debate today, I'd like to talk about 4 specific values. Values of respect, values of duty of care, fair go for the underdog, and habeas corpus, the right to a fair trial by your peers, and punishments that fit the crime. And then the behaviours that would provide evidence that we are living those values. And my motion notes that the planned closure of the Regional Processing Centre on Manus Island in Papua New Guinea on the 31st of October is creating a highly stressful situation for the asylum seekers who remain on Manus Island. That there will be a withdrawal of current medical and mental health care, torture and trauma support and security services to detainees on the 31st of October. A UNHCR survey of the deterioration of the mental health of those on Manus and Nauru in May 2016 showed that more than 88% of offshore detainees are suffering serious mental health issues after years in detention, and that there is enormous pressure on the detainees on Manus Island to relocate to Papua New Guinea or return to where they fled ahead of the 21st of October deadline, when the UNHCR says a majority have been recognised as refugees who qualify for resettlement. So, behaviours, evidence, indefinite detention, severe health issues, very ordinary people detained without trial because they fled from where they came with a well-founded fear of persecution. And in the past weeks, I've spoken to the UNHCR and acknowledge they're present here today. I've spoken to the Prime Minister and I've asked questions in Parliament. And I'm totally unimpressed with the response. Sure, I get the argument, protect our borders, deaths at sea, breaking the business model. But I also see in our treatment of the people on Manus, I believe we've crossed a line. The evidence shows that we're behaving badly, that we're becoming a bully, that we are very cruel, we are unfair, and sadly we are not being our best selves. And worse than all of that, I believe, we've foisted on our well-respected neighbours a problem we don't want to have to own. Local people don't want foreigners forced to live in their small rural communities, outnumbering them. Women in PG fear for their safety. So I say to the government and the opposition, the standard you walk past is the standard you accept. Our treatment of these asylum seekers will define us in the decades to come. It will shadow our role on the United Nations Committee on Human Rights. It will shadow our relationship with Papua New Guinea and our other neighbours. It will shadow us as a nation. Its shadow will be long and heavy and dark. But, Deputy Speaker, I believe we're better than this. I believe we can protect our borders and we can look after the refugees. So in closing, my words are, it is not only what we do, but how we do it. And I call on Labor and the government to work in partnership with the UNHCR and community groups such as Rural Australians for Refugees to find a problem for this moral problem, to find a solution to this moral problem, and to work with the leaders on Manus to sort it out. We can be better, we should be better, and I call on the government to be better.
Thank the member.